that bay in front of our home, in front of, I farm on Shepherd Mallory's property, and I'm a farmer. And
you know, in that case,
anyway,
it could have been.
It's just amazing that we found a rebel track
That goes right into the river?
It goes right into the river.
You know, what that is almost definitely, extremely likely is back in the day, a lot of boats, because they didn't have the highways, they didn't have what we have today, there were railroad tracks laid right into the water, so when you wanted to pull up a boat, you would put it on a cradle and either you know, farm machinery or horses would, you know, pull it up on the tracks.
Right, because we was just wondering, that's like, okay, what's going on here?
But something about sea level rise, just for the last thing, we all know, unless you don't want to know, that the sea levels are currently rising. The causes won't go there, but sea levels are definitely rising. Interesting for us here on the Lower Peninsula, though, is if you look at that image, the crater blasted, destroyed, pulverized the basement rock, which is below a couple of thousand feet of sediment. So that's really the crater you can't see because it's been filled in with loose sediments. It's really only the basement rock underneath it that they can drill into, and you know, over there they pull out solid rock. Over here they pull out blasted rock. And there's all kinds of geologic evidence that this can only be formed by a major blasting event, and the only thing that's capable of doing that is a giant rock from outer space. So the crater exists and has been fairly accurately mapped, but those giant chunks of rock are literally still sinking. A little bit at a time, because they're settling. They're just a blasted rock in a crater 50 miles across. They are still settling, and so the lower part of the peninsula is sinking a little bit. At the same time, the sea level is rising. So, property in Poquoson?
And Hampton, and Phoebus, we're flooding.
By the way, 99% of the scientific community agrees that the cause of sea level rise is human impact, almost entirely the burning of fossil fuels and the destruction of forests. So there's no scientific debate, it's a political debate. We did it, we're doing it.
And I'm not wearing the shirt, but I am wearing the hat, so whatever the reason is.
Just quickly, through the GPR results, to kind of look at the archaeological areas we wanted to investigate. Behind us right here is one of those areas we chose to investigate because of the abnormalities that popped up on the GPR. Once we got into the investigation out here, we found that it was more 19th, 20th century artifacts. There was a little bit of 18th century, but it was more modern. And to give you an example of what we did find out here popping up, we have a nice little antique bottle.
That's still antique.
It is, and it was bottled in Newport News, so this is the history of Newport News.
That's pretty cool.
Now we do have different flavors for people who like Pepsi Cola more. We did find a Pepsi Cola, although
Does it say where it's bottled?
it does not say.
Probably
So,
New Bern, North Carolina.
yeah, wasn't Pepsi a northern drink? And this Coke down south.
Okay, and that's
that's just 'cause Atlanta.
1920, right? No, it's not 19.
They normally have dates on the bottom.
No, 2009, 1901. I think.
These are identifiable. I didn't do the research to know exactly when this bottle was, but it sounds like you're on the right
Coke
trail.
came out their first product.
So when we found these popping up, along with some ceramics that were more modern, we decided to hold off digging here. We believe this was a dump site for the prison at one point. It probably mixed in with some other artifacts that do date older. So what we feel with this bluff, this area, is we want to push out the investigation more towards the water. That being said, with all this modern stuff, in the backfill pile, the topsoil we removed but didn't process yet, pre-contact or Native American projectile point came out of there.
Oh, wow.
So that just shows you that we can have this stuff, but then we can have stuff from Native Americans.
Yeah.
Obviously this was a nice area to come and utilize for camping or hunting, or so it goes to show you that while we do have modern stuff, there could be the possibility of some other stuff, but in this spot we've deemed it not so much. With that being said, We are going to walk up this path / roadway, and we are going to head to the main archaeological site.